up, guys? I'm Seth.
And I'm Lauren.
Yep, and we are currently living in Mérida, Mexico as expats. Before that, we were in Valladolid, right in the middle of the Yucatan state. Which
is a much smaller city.
Yeah, it was a much smaller city, and we were there for 5 weeks. So basically, long story short, at the end of December, we flew from Atlanta to Cancun, stayed there for a few days, worked our way into the Yucatan state, and the rest is history. Ever since those 5 weeks in Valladolid, we've been based here in Mérida.
And it's the biggest city in the Yucatan state.
Yep, and it's only like 30 minutes to the beach. There's lots of cenotes nearby, historical Mayan sites, and it's just an extremely safe city. It's actually one of the safest cities in the whole of America. So,
yeah, and you can really feel it too.
But today we're actually going to talk about life as expats here in the Yucatan state, and we're going to talk about the things that we miss about the United States and that we loved about living there.
Yeah, and then my favorite part is going to be talking about the things that we don't miss.
Exactly, all the things that we don't miss about the US and that we love more about here. And through that, we're going to talk about why we left the US.
Like, a lot of these reasons have to do with why we moved to Mexico.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll get into that.
Yeah, and you can kind of compare it to your own self and how you are and see if you think living in Mexico is right for you. A few disclaimers though. This is actually our first time living as expats. We have done 6-7 week trips, backpacking trips and stuff, but this is, you know, just living everyday life in another country. This is the first time. This is actually our third trip into Mexico, and we have been to Baja California in the past. But as far as living goes, all of our expat comparisons, life here, life there comparisons, are based on the Yucatan state, which is obviously a lot different than other parts of Mexico. But other than that, disclaimers aside, let's get into it.
Yeah, without further ado.
So first things first, right now we are currently sitting in a city park surrounded by restaurants and shops, literally a couple blocks from where we're staying. So that is definitely one thing I think we both do not miss about the US, is that here you don't really need a car, and it's a lot more affordable to stay within the downtown area or the city center, or at least a close walk to it.
Yep.
So you can just walk out of your apartment, go to coffee shops, restaurants, squares.
The actual centro of Merida is not even, it's probably about a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And we've never been able to experience living in an actual downtown area because it's unbelievably expensive in the United States.
Yeah, so just being able, everywhere we go, we're able to stay within walking distance to the city center. So that's a really nice change of life and change of pace. And we're paying what right now, about $500 a month?
Yep.
And that's something that we definitely do not miss about the US. Pretty much have to drive everywhere.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, here in the Yucatan state, cities, it can be hard to find a lot of green spaces to sort of get out and just walk and enjoy nature.
Yeah, most of the parks here are just like squares. It might have a church and everything is like cobblestone. It's very beautiful, but it doesn't allow you to actually feel like you left the city or that you're in nature.
Yeah.
It's just a part of the city.
Yeah, so here, if you want to get out into nature, you really need to go to like the pyramids or something like that, which can be 30 minutes to an hour out of the city.
Yeah.
Whereas like when we were staying in Atlanta, for example, there is a ton of like long greenways where you feel like you're, you know, light years away from the city, but in reality you might only be 15-minute drive away. And that's pretty common throughout the US. But of course you have to get in your car and fight through traffic 9 times out of 10 to get there. So it's kind of like pros and cons. And also I think if we had a car here, we could more easily get to some nature.
Yeah, but that's actually the nice thing. That's one thing I don't miss at all about the US, is that you don't need a car here. Yeah. It doesn't matter how far you're going. You can find a bus, a Colectivo, you can take a taxi.
That is probably the #1 thing I never miss about the United States when living out of it. It's just that in the US, you pretty much have to have a car. Our bus companies are almost a monopoly. Our train passenger companies are a monopoly.
Yeah, and they're super expensive on top of that. You can probably get a flight for cheaper than you can an Amtrak ticket.
Yeah, pretty much in the US, if you're going somewhere far, you either have to drive or you have to fly.
Yeah.
But here, if you want to get to any city over or any other tourist destination, there's so many options you can take. You know, like she was saying, Colectivo.
Which are probably the cheapest option.
Yeah, for less than $2 always, sometimes less than $1, you can get to the next city over in a Colectivo, which is basically just a van that runs back and forth between 2 places.
Yeah, and their largest bus company is Audio. And of course that goes all around Mexico. Like we could take an Audio bus to Mexico City. Yeah. So that's just a luxury that you don't really get in the US, especially for the prices here. Another thing we miss about the US is shopping. Although there is a lot of shopping here, it's not as convenient. If you if you've shopped in the US before, obviously you'd know that we kind of group all of our major chains together.
Yeah.
So in one spot you'll have Target, Walmart, Ross, TJ Maxx, like everything you need.
And here there is a lot of shopping, no doubt, in the city area. And even in the north part of the city, there's multiple malls and walking distance to each other, and you have H&M and things like that. But as a general rule, it's just easier and more convenient to shop in the US. And that could just be because we're so used to the US. And with that, I would say just easy access to faster food.
That's a big one, because here, if you're not eating literal fast food like Burger King, McDonald's, then you have to kind of go to a sit-down restaurant, in which that would usually take more than an hour.
It's almost kind of like, this is actually a pro and a con. It's kind of like island time here. I think in the US we're used to like a really pushy atmosphere where everyone's trying to work as many hours as possible, be open as long as possible, and make the most money you possibly can, which is really not a good thing. So I think coming here, we're not used to the more island time, laid back atmosphere where no one's really in too much of a hurry. And that's really the case when we leave the US a lot. Eventually, once we get more used to it, I think it's actually a really good thing, a blessing in disguise, to sort of be forced to take it slower sometimes. And if you're going to get breakfast or get lunch, just, you know, accept the fact that it's might take longer than, like in the US, we would just run to Chipotle and make it a big rushed experience. You know, you're shoving this big giant burrito in your mouth, and the whole thing is like 15 minutes total.
I know, ordering, eating, you're done.
You're like killing yourself, but you're glad that you're saving time.
So one of the major things that we miss is laundry machines. Like washing machines and dryers have been a major problem for us this far. Here in Mexico, we've noticed that they have lavanderias, and they're like multiple on each block. And they're just little places where you go and drop off your dirty clothes, and they weigh them and charge you per kilogram, and they will wash everything for you, dry everything for you, and give them back folded and clean. But the reason that this has been a problem for us is because of underwear.
Some people have said that some places reject your underwear, other places will take it, but that's just kind of something we don't like to find out, especially during the pandemic. It's kind of gross just to, you know, give someone your dirty underwear and say, hey, wash this for me. And fold it for me. But
for us, the very first month that we were in Yucatan, we would hand wash our underwear and then take all of our other clothes to a lavanderia because we had a clothesline. But now that we're in Merida, we don't have a clothesline, and luckily there is a actual self-serve laundromat like a couple kilometers away. We do have to Uber there, but it's been worth it because we get to do our own laundry. But we know moving forward that we're gonna have to start using lavanderias again.
So it's rare to find self-serve washing machines. Now, washing machines are readily available here if you're a homeowner or renting a permanent apartment. They sell them at Walmart and everything like that, and they're pretty affordable. But if you're just renting Airbnbs, it's not something that commonly comes with them, because there's just these lavanderias everywhere. So if you're any other expats in Mexico, if you guys are taking your underwear to the lavanderias, let us know how that experience is going.
Please comment below. Panty problems.
Panty problems. So one thing about Merida though, that's really, really nice and that we love about it here is just how safe and clean it is. It is actually considered the safest city in Mexico and one of the safest in all of the Americas. So you can pretty much walk around at any time of night. Right now there is a curfew from COVID. I think it's 11:30. Without the curfew, I would feel comfortable walking around any time of night in the city.
I've never felt unsafe anywhere in the Yucatan thus far at all, at any time of day.
And I think that's a big thing that we don't miss about the US, whereas like a lot of our big cities in the US, let's be honest, the majority of them are not as safe. They're definitely not as clean.
And I know we're referring to the Yucatan, so we'll update you guys later as we move through the more of the Mexican states. But I mean, this is one of the safest states, and we have felt that it is.
And another big thing that we don't miss about the U.S. at all is that a lot of the cities feel a bit more like, what would you say, hostile? I think it mainly comes from a lot of the pressure people have in the U.S. to, you know, more. The sort of the rat race. We were talking about it being inconvenient that places close down and stuff, but honestly that's probably why people generally are more friendly, more laid back, and even why probably there's less crime and stuff here, because it feels like, you know, there's more of a value for mental health and time and, you know, people individually instead of people just with their jobs and how much money they make.
Yeah, exactly. It could be like the US in general that just pushes our workers so much. It's like such a drive for them, and here it's like we said, it's like island time.
Yeah.
And it's not as like the vibes are just different.
Yeah, and you'll see, you know, people tell each other hello here, and this is a city. I mean, there's 1 million people in the metro, so you don't get that as much in the US. People just walking down the sidewalk, and they'll walk up and dap each other up.
Yeah, so we just wanted to experience expat lifestyle and just be in a different country for a long period of time, because as of right now, this is the longest that we've been out of our home country, and it feels good to experience something like this.
Yeah.
If you're wondering why Mexico, like this country in general, not only did it have a lot to do with you know, the cost of the flight and easy access to a non-stop flight to Cancun, but the tourist visa is 180 days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you can extend that easily, but just starting out with, we can be here for half a year with a passport stamp, and that's how easy it is.
And
nothing extra out of your pocket.
And you are allowed to work as long as you're making money from a US company and getting paid into a US bank. You're allowed to make money here on that visa. They have a lot of options for visas, but we would recommend, if you're just like us trying expat life for the first time, just go with the simple passport stamp 180-day visa. That's normally 9 times out of 10 what they grant you when you arrive to the country. So that's just a great way to kind of get your feet in the water and see if it's going to work for you.
This just allows you to really learn a lot about yourself and about the world.
Yeah.
And so it's an experience that I think everybody should try if you get the chance.
And we didn't want to make this super fancy. We just wanted to kind of be real with you guys and have a conversation about the differences and the changes. But I think if you're on the fence, just come try it out. If you have a good opportunity with your lease or with your employment or job, any type of opportunity, there's no harm in trying it out for a while. The worst thing you're gonna have to do is get a test to get back into the US at this point. But other than that, it's definitely worth experiencing something new. And it challenges you, and it definitely challenges what you're used to and what previously was normal to you, and it starts to make you wonder if it ever should have been normal to begin with. If you have any questions related to COVID precautions or traveling here during COVID or anything like that, we'll probably make a video about that at some point, but just feel free to ask us in the comments.
Make sure you subscribe to our channel, like this video, because we have a lot more content like this coming out. Thank you guys for watching, and subscribe. Yeah,
subscribe. It's free and easy, guys. It really, really helps us out, and it makes our day to see new subscribers. So join the community, join the conversation. And cheers, guys. Hopefully we'll see you on this side of the border soon.
Yep. Adios, amigos.
Adios.
Ay, 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 ay.